And I remember that day writing down, and I'm like, I'm going to come back and to Paramount. I also went to visit Warner Brothers, and I'm like, I'm going to come back to Paramount or Warner Brothers, but I'm going to come back working.
What's up, guys? Today's guest is a professional stunt woman, parkour practitioner, and is better known as Dynamite on the Fox hit Ultimate Tag. Please welcome to the JAMCast, Yessenia Cossio.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Did I say your name right?
Yeah, you did. You didn't kill it yet.
I've been like so nervous about your last name this whole time. I'm like,
Cool. A lot of people are.
Yeah, it's easier when I like say it on like the clip of the week show because they're not sitting in front of me, but directly
you can
in front of me. Yeah, when you're here, I'm like, do not mess up their last names. Yeah, it's super difficult. And what is your last name? You said it's Italian?
It's Italian, yeah.
So what are you like?
Cuban. My ancestors Italian.
Okay.
Yeah. So originally my last name was with one S, and then they brought it to the U.S. and now it's with two S's, and it was originally pronounced Cossio, and then once it crossed over to the U.S., now it's Cossio.
Oh.
But not a lot of people get that, and I'm like, okay, it's all right. There's two S's in there, though, they're not one.
I know. I've been like nervous. I'm so glad I had the benefit of asking.
No, you got it.
That's so funny. And so like with being Cuban too, like are you from Florida originally, or is that just where you like resided for a decent amount of time?
Originally I'm from Miami, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, so I grew up in a very Cuban cultured area. My first language was actually Spanish.
Oh,
I didn't really learn English till I was like 13.
Dang, that's crazy.
It's pretty late on.
Even living in Florida, you learned it that late.
Yeah, because the thing is that in Miami specifically, that's like Little Havana there. You know, it's there's a bunch of Cubans and like everyone speaks Spanish. If you don't speak Spanish, you're kind of looked at funny. You know, it's like, oh, this is a gringo or whatever.
Yeah, I try to tell people that have never been to Miami that like literally I already sometimes like joke about the like Florida's its own country, but like Miami itself is literally like its own world. It doesn't even feel like U.S., you know? It
really is. It's its own world. And I mean, thankfully, I started working at a very early age, so I was able to pick up on the English. But here and there, even till today, I still trip over some words, and like some people make fun of me, like I got you, and I'm like, nah, man, you know, like I still have that accent. I don't hear it, but when I go to other places, people are like, yeah, she's from Miami.
I could hear it a little bit here, but don't feel bad. I mean, like people always ask me if I speak like Chinese and Japanese. And I'm like, I barely speak English correctly. So the fact that you know like another language first for so long, that's pretty impressive. Like in your schools, did that mean that they spoke Spanish primarily too?
They did.
Wow.
And I was actually in ESOL classes. You know, like those classes they put like children that are from other countries and
English
stuff.
as a second language.
Right. Yeah. But even in those classes, the teachers would just speak to us in Spanish. I'm like, what the hell is the point of these classes? And like I wouldn't really learn. Like I ended up learning working and, you know, it being forced because one of my first jobs was working human resource, and you got to speak to different people and in English. And man, that was tough, but thankfully, I picked up on it. I didn't really get like an accent like you would think, kind of like Sofia Vergara, you know?
Totally.
I was always really scared of that, so I practiced a lot my English, and thankfully I'm good now. And
it's pretty funny because you've like made the transition to like splitting time over here in LA, which is a city where we have a huge Spanish-speaking population as well. So it kind of like comes in handy that you've like grown up with that as your first language.
Yeah. I'm actually really happy and glad that now as a grown-up that I kept the Spanish, because there's a lot of people that, you know, grow up just like me, but their parents don't really like enforce it.
Totally.
And they lose that other language. And thankfully, I've been able to work equally in the American and Spanish, you know, entertainment business just because of that. Because I could fluently speak, read, and write both.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is super crazy. And now, like, more than anything, I appreciate making time to do this. For those that don't know, we've been conversing on Instagram DMs for like months about making this happen. And and one of the criticisms, like when I first started the JAMCast, I remember one of our first negative reviews was someone saying, there's not enough women on your show. And what they don't understand is that the thing about these JAMCasts is that like I have to thank guests like you because you're used to getting paid like $1,000 a day, and I'm asking you to come here for free to donate your time. But secondly, with such a small amount of talented females, you guys are always busy and booked, and you've recently been working so much that we're just able to sneak this in, you know? Yeah.
It's been tough, man, honestly. And, you know, being back and forth from LA and Miami, it's not like you're going from Miami to Atlanta, you know, it's like I have to be constantly flying back and forth, and sometimes for like 2-3 days and then fly back, you know, kind of like I have to go back like soon because I have another job in Miami. But no, yeah, definitely. I mean, we're always booked, always super busy, thankfully. But I mean, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me, for sure.
No, I appreciate that. And so like, obviously, like you just mentioned that you're kind of like, you're about to fly back to Miami in a couple days and you're splitting time right now. At what point did you make the decision to like move out to LA, even though you're going back and forth? And like, what caused you to like make that move since you're still working back home?
Yeah. So actually it was after Ultimate Tag.
Ah.
Yeah. Okay. So, I actually flew out here, for, I would say like about a month and a half, to film Ultimate Tag. And I loved it so much. Like I finally felt like I was in a place where I was accepted more. In Florida and Miami, it's a little different. You know, the culture, the people, the way you dress, the way you look. If you're a little over the top, you know, people tend to be more judgmental. I don't know if it's because of the Spanish culture. I don't know what it is, guys. You know, I don't want to blame it on the Spanish people, but I swear to God, they're just more judgmental. And here in LA, it's more accepting. Okay. You know, like however you are, however you want to dress, however you want to be, if you want to be extravagant, if you want to be over the top, whatever. Everything's accepted, whatever goes. And, you know, the more you are, the more you're liked, actually. So I also like the fact that you go either snowboarding or you go to the beach on the same day. So, you know, there's not a lot of states you could do that, if any. You know what I mean? So I love it here. I feel like it's more me. And I'm kind of, you know, like happy to be leaving Miami for a little bit. You know, there's some things I love about it, you know, like the food and stuff like that. But also the entertainment business there is not really like popping like, you know, in other states. There are some things there. And actually, as I was in Miami living and working, I actually worked a lot, nonstop. But the projects are not as big. You know, you work a lot of like TV shows, but like low budget and short films, low budget feature films and commercials, music videos. And it's like, although I was busy and, you know, thankfully financially I was always steady and good, I wanted more. You know, it's like you feel at some point in your career like you already reached that point that you're like, all right, I need to move, you know, over to the next step, you know, like what's next. And that's how I felt. And I was just like, you know what, I just want to take that risk and just leave. And thankfully everything ended up working out. You know, I got Ultimate Tag, you know, I got my first movie, which I was super excited about. And I loved it because a lot of people were skeptical and a lot of people were like, why LA? You know, like, why not Atlanta? And I'm just like, you know what, like, I just want to go to LA. Not only do they have the best training facilities, in my opinion, but I feel like it just takes that one opportunity, you know, that one chance, and basically it will get, you know, like your career going. And thankfully I got that, you know, good opportunity that I kind of like predicted. Yeah. And also, you know, I worked hard for, and it ended up happening. So ever since that, you know, my career has been, you know, flowing pretty well.
That's cool. And like, what percentage of time do you think you split between LA and Miami? Is it like 50-50 right now? Like, do you call LA home or do you still call Miami home?
I call them both home equally. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, when I'm in Miami for too long, I'm kind of like, I want to go home. And then when I'm in LA for too long, I kind of want to see my family. Yeah. But I don't really miss Miami too much.
I'd say like the one good thing is that you guys have no income tax in Florida, so like that's a plus. On that side,
definitely. But you know, it's weird. Like it's always raining. It's hard to train. You know, here in LA, it's usually like sunny or really hot or whatever, but I could deal with it. You know, and there's more places to train. And in Miami, everything closes super early. Like the parkour gyms there are from like 8:30 to 10.
Oh, okay.
You got an hour and 30 minutes to like train. And then the places outside, you get kicked out super quick. It's very discouraging. A lot of the times, I mean, if you get caught, you'll get like feed, you know, or they'll call the cops on you. I remember there's one time I was like in Wynwood, you know, because they have like nice buildings. Are you familiar with the Wynwood area?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, you know, like it's basically like the art district. And, you know, they have really nice buildings that are, you know, they have nice gaps and, you know, and I got on top of one of the roof, and as I got on top, like the owner just came out and just like, get down, what are you doing? And I'm just like, oh my God. He's like, I'm gonna call the cops. I'm like, dude, it's okay. Like, you know, and he's like, what are you doing up there? And I'm like, what am I gonna tell him? I'm gonna jump? Yeah. I'm like, nothing, sir. I'm just gonna get down. I was just checking something. It was for a photo shoot, whatever. So I got down, and it was always like that, you know? And I'm just like, and here in LA, it's not like that. You know, it's like, there's places that you got to be careful that you might get kicked out, but people are nice about it. And they're like, hey, you can't be there, or they'll politely come and ask or whatever. But I feel like there's more areas for you to actually be more open and, train on, your creative side. So.
Totally.
Yeah.
And now obviously like we've talked about Ultimate Tag and like your character on there and stuff like that. But one of the things that lends itself very well to you, like being a contestant, or more so like being a character on that show, is obviously having a parkour background. So like how long ago did you actually get introduced to PK, and like what was your first exposure to it that actually made you make the decision to pursue it? Because, for lack of a better term, or a better explanation, we have like a very small population of females that do parkour, especially at a professional level. So what was it that actually like turned you onto it and actually made you continue to pursue it at a level that you're now getting paid for it?
Yeah. So it all started after bodybuilding. I was into like fitness competitions and bodybuilding and stuff like that. And then after, I was like, this doesn't feel like me. This is not something I want to do. Like, I want to get into more like extreme sports and stuff like that. And then I started kind of looking into stunts. And then I did my first stunt, and it was me getting shot. And I met a bunch of guys on there that I'm like, hey, where do you go like to train stunts? Like, what do you do? Like most of us that are lost and, trying to get into stunts. And they're like, well, like we train parkour. And I'm like, and I'm like, where can I go train that? And then I saw Miami Free Running, over in Miami. And there's where I started training. And then it went from becoming a hobby to a passion to just doing it every single day. And then I started back in 2014, actually.
Okay.
And I kept doing it, and I started getting a lot of stunt work out of it. But so much that in a way it was good and it was bad, because it wasn't letting me train.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to like train consistently for years, just that discipline. I had to balance both doing stunts and parkour, which was very difficult. And it just kind of started, like I said, like a hobby. Then people kind of were like, okay, like, wow, she's a female, like, she could do this and that. And they started just hiring me for just different things. And people kind of just started, like spreading the word. And then WFPF, reached out, and, they were interested in me. And, I also used that skill set and what I learned to actually try to not just inspire, but also, like influence smaller children. I started getting involved with Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital.
Okay.
And I went there because I used to dress up also like, like a princess and like superhero and stuff like that. And I used to do it for the kids. And then they're like, hey, you have certain skill sets. Can you like dress up like Wonder Woman and do like a mini, like fight scene, or do like I don't know, like do a flip or whatever it is? And I'm like, yeah, for sure, I'm down. And I went in one day, and I just saw all these kids that, no lie, they were probably like anywhere from like 1 year old to like 13, and they were sick. And like the smile that I was able to put on their face for something that to me was very minimal, it was kind of like, oh, it's not a big deal. But for them, you're that character, you're that person. Yeah. And the way I was able to inspire them, and just kind of give them life that they did not have while they were in there, it just kind of like, it kind of opened something differently in me. And I was like, I want to keep doing this. And then not only did that just, keep me just training a lot more and inspired myself and motivated to do more parkour, but also become more involved with, the community and helping children with cancer and even adults. And I also visited an elderly home.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've ever been to one, but a lot of the times, like, they just sit out the whole day. That's all they do.
Yeah.
They just sit in a wheelchair, and it's the most boring shit in the world. And I'm just thinking to myself, excuse my language, I'm just thinking to myself, man, if I get old and I'm like, this just, I don't want to be in this world anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a like boring life. And I actually, spoke with them, and I offered also my services for free. Like I told them, hey, like I'm willing to come here, like put on a show or just spend time with them, like sit with them and just talk about life, or just, and the smile on their faces, they're like kids. They're like older kids. Mm-hmm. And they would just get so excited and happy to just see someone either in a costume or spending time with them or whatever it is. So actually getting into parkour really helped me a lot in my life, not just, in the discipline and the sport side of it and, work. but also to help others. And I know a lot of people don't look into it as much, but to me, it actually helped me a lot with my life and the life of other people. I was able to inspire and help out a lot of people through a sport that a lot of people probably don't even look at twice in that way.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I really do like commend you on the efforts you took to do that. And I totally understand. Like my mom currently teaches Tai Chi at like an elder facility, and it's like the most popular activity there just because like you said, they're used to just sitting around and just passing the time, maybe talking to each other. And just that little glimpse of, physicality and maybe just like moving again is like a beacon of light to them. So that's super, super cool. And now in such like a male dominated sport, like we've kind of referred to, and things like that. Like, I've obviously been in the sport for a long time. And I remember back when there was only one woman, Lucy Romberg, competing at the Art of Motion. And now like we're blessed to have so many females like breaking ground and getting onto the scene. Like when you were doing parkour and stuff like that, did you watch anyone for inspiration? Did you find that you were watching predominantly males, or did you ever like find females that you were able to train with and also look up to?
Yeah. So I'll tell you something very funny. For some reason, since I was young, I've always been inspired by men.
Okay.
Don't know why. Like I do see women and, they inspire me, but for some reason, like I've always looked up to men. And I think it's mostly because I grew up a tomboy.
Okay.
And, closely to my brother and his friends. And because I always felt like there was things that they physically can do that the way that we're just built, we probably can't do as easy, or it takes us more work or whatever it is. In today's world is a lot different because I feel like women, have a lot more power and they're a lot more equal. But, in my opinion, to be completely honest, there's still some things that, physically there's a difference.
Totally.
But, like for me, it was just looking up to them. And one of the first ones that I looked up to was actually Joe Scandrick.
Of course, from the UK.
You know why, though?
No, I don't.
He's small. And I'm like, well, he's small, just like me. Like, if he does it, I could do it. But, I'm like not thinking about that. This man is like, freaking powerhouse.
Totally.
And he has springs for legs and stuff. But he was actually one of the first people that I looked at. Okay. And I remember at one of the WFPF competitions, I saw him. And I told him, I don't think he remembers, but I did tell him in person. I'm like, man, like you inspire me. You were like one of the first people that I looked at and that became inspired by. And he was like, he was super sweet about it or whatever it is. But Joe, if you're watching this, he was definitely one of the first people that inspired me. And definitely Sydney Olsen as well as a woman. I know after I saw her at the Red Bull competition and she took first, I was like, man, like this girl's a badass.
Totally.
Like I totally got inspired by her too, just because the way she moves is like a man, like she moves like she moves with purpose is what I mean. You know what I mean? And she's very powerful. And what I mean when I say like a man is just that it's let me see if I could try to explain it. Women have a kind of like a softness to them in their movement sometimes. And I mean, there's some female athletes that when they move, differently. They're more like brutes, you know what I mean? And I like that. That's like more like my style.
I feel you on that. Yeah, I can kind of agree, especially from like having, hosted Red Bull comps and seeing a lot of competitors. You can see like a lot of gymnastics inspired female parkour athletes.
Yes.
And so like, even though they can do difficult flips and tricks, like even the way that they run is probably a little less aggressive than some of the guys who had like sports backgrounds and stuff like that. So I can attest, I think Sydney Olsen and Lucy Romberg, like they just throw down hard tricks where regardless of gender, you could put them in the same competition and you'd be like, oh, okay. Behind a silhouette, it would look very similar, Yeah,
it's almost like the gymnasts. I feel like they're running on their toes sometimes.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful, but
totally. It's a different type of running.
It's like ballerinas doing parkour.
Yeah, it's a different type of speed and aggressiveness. But that makes a lot of sense and it's cool. So yeah, with that being said, obviously like one of the shows that has been able to capitalize upon your parkour practice and all the years that you've spent training has been Ultimate Tag, where you get to be Dynamite to the world who knows you as that. And like being on that show, like what is like your favorite part of it? Is it like actually being able to compete against other people, or is it more so that like, you know, for once you're actually in the front of camera, because the stunt people were generally like kept in the background, and on that show they really like champion you being like a character, you know, they really like the big personalities and stuff.
Yeah. Well, for me, honestly, and I think I could speak for everyone else because we did speak a lot about this, it was the experience.
Okay.
You know, the experience was like no other. And I'm kind of familiar with being in front of camera, although a lot of times, you know, as a stunt person, we're behind cameras. I did grow up, you know, working on a lot of, you know, like short films, and, you know, like I did small little acting stuff or whatever. I did some commercials, more like in the Spanish world, some small like scenes as well. And although I was used to being in front of camera, it was different because this was live.
Yeah.
So, totally. You know, being around, that was my first time being around a live audience, and it's a different kind of hype, man.
Yeah, the energy is way different.
These people are in it. You know, like although, you know, like these are probably like extras or whatever, you know, getting paid to be there or whatever it is. These people were not acting like that in any way. Like, you did not have to tell them, hey, you know, applaud, or hey, you know, like scream. No, these people were like full blown, and they actually became fans.
Yeah, totally.
You know, like a lot of them will look us up on Instagram and be like, hey, I just saw you, man, you were amazing, or whatever it is. And for us, just the experience of walking through Warner Brothers and just kind of like going through even their like museum, and, you know, just the experience of just going through the whole show and just getting to know basically producers and these people that, you know, worked on the Looney Tunes. And like, I'm just like, what is life right now? I'm like, what is this? And once I looked outside the stage, you know how they have like this it says like stage 16, and like then it says all the movies.
Shows, yeah.
It has like a plaque of all the movies that have been there and they've worked on, and I'm like, Titanic? Are you kidding me right now? The Hangover? I'm like, it was insane. I was just like, this is crazy to me right now. And honestly, I had to take a second and like recollect myself because I got a little teary. It's insane because years ago, it was about like 7 years ago, I came here to LA for like 2 weeks. And it was more like, you know, I think what everybody kind of tries to do when they're trying to get into the industry. Like, I just want to go to LA, see what it's like, you know, like whatever. And that was me. Like, I came out here. I just wanted to see what it was like. And I went to Paramount to do their tour kind of thing.
Of course, yeah, the picture lot tour.
Yeah. I went to go do the tour. And, you know, I remember the lady, she goes to us, oh, you know, like if there's these big, you know, at the entrance, there's these big doors, you know, like that have bars and stuff, whatever. And she was like, you know, they say if you touch it, it gives you good luck. And then I'm like, really? So what kind of luck we talking about? And she's like, well, you know, it could be money. It could be a dream that you have, whatever it is. You know, maybe you'll come back here. Who knows? And I'm like, huh, you know, and then like, you know, it got me thinking a little bit. And I remember that day writing down, and I'm like, I'm going to come back and to Paramount. I also went to visit Warner Brothers, and I'm like, I'm going to come back to Paramount or Warner Brothers, but I'm going to come back working. You know, it's either going to be, you know, as an actor, as a stunt performer, whatever it is, but I'm going to be back here working. Like, I refuse to come back here ever again if it's not because of work. And I remember at that moment, you know, you're consumed, when I was an Ultimate Tag, you're consumed with everything that's going on. Let's see, you have the PA calling for you like, hey, you're up. And, you know, life is happening so fast. And I remember taking a moment, you know, to be like, this is a moment I need to take and appreciate and just put everything else to the side. Like, I don't care who's in a hurry. I don't care anything right now. Like, because this is, you know, when you feel like life is talking back to you, or God is, or somebody, a higher power is just at that moment saying, hey, look, told you so. Yeah. And that's how I felt. And I was kind of like, wow, man, it's crazy how if you work towards your dreams and what you want, it will happen, undeniably. And I not only wrote it down, I worked towards it, you know, law of attraction. I'm a big believer in that. And I'm like, I'm going to work my butt off till I get to this point. I don't know when it will happen, but it will happen. And I always had 100% faith in that. I would tell people, they thought I was crazy. You know how it is. You know, you can't just walk up to the regulars, that's what I call them, and just kind of be like, oh, I'm going to be in this. And be like, yeah, okay. And during that time, I remember I was working in Best Buy.
No way.
And I remember I would tell some people, they're like, oh, so what do you want to do? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be an actor and a stunt woman. And they will look at me and they'll be like, okay. You know when they give you that look kind of like, I'm not going to be mean and like say something I shouldn't, but yeah, this girl's crazy.
Totally.
And I would openly tell people what I wanted to do just because I felt I was that already. I just didn't have, you know, the skill set, the training experience, etc. And I once I started getting into it, it's crazy how now, 7 years forward, people from my job, Best Buy, and from all these other jobs I used to work in, they're like, dude, it's insane. My teachers messaging me like, I can't believe it. Like, we're so proud of you. You know, like, you said you were going to do something and look at you now, you know what I mean? And it just, it's so motivating, you know, and it motivates even me because sometimes when, I feel like at times as people, we sometimes doubt certain things in our life. And then sometimes when I have those thoughts, I'm kind of like, look, it's proven. You know, you work your butt off for something, it's going to happen. Yeah. You know, it's undeniably. That's just the way life is. If you don't work, you know, for something, it's not going to happen. And then when I have people tell me like, oh, but what about the people that don't make it? And I'm like, they just didn't work hard enough. Totally. That's it. There's nothing else to it. I don't believe in, well, I'm too old, or, you know, I have 1,000 kids, or, you know, I have 4 jobs. I don't believe in any of that because I feel that when you want something, you will find the way, whether you have 10 kids, you're married, you know, you have all these obstacles in your life, you got no money. I don't care. Like, when people give me excuses, I don't say anything. I just look at them and I'm like, I don't know. Just figure it out. I mean, I figured it out. I had a job I couldn't lose. You know, during that time, I had to take care of my grandma that had cancer. You know, like, there was so many things that were going on at the moment that I didn't find excuses. I was looking for solutions. Yeah. And I feel that that's the problem with a lot of people. They're too busy looking for the obstacle instead of finding the solution for it.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. You know, after doing these JAMCasts for almost 2 years right now, I find that that's like a kind of universal theme amongst the people that sit across from me in that chair, is that they have this like determined belief in themselves and just like this passionate attitude that they're just not going to accept failure. Even like when I was in college, I wasn't taking school very seriously. And a lot of people used to judge me and make fun of me that, like, you know, I didn't care about my grades and that I wasn't going to class. And they were like, what are you going to do with your life? And I was like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go be in the entertainment industry. And I think for the longest time, a lot of them like didn't support me and a lot of people laughed at me. But, you know, I just knew from the very beginning that, like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to stop until I make that happen. You know?
Dude, that is so awesome you said that. You know why? Because when I was in college, I already had my plan and I already knew what I wanted. Yeah. I went to college, and then you know how you have to pick like what you want to do or whatever, and I'm like, all right, what's the best thing I could put on here? Totally. I guess drama and drama education, I'll pick that. And I'm like, what are all the cool electives that I could get? This is what I'm thinking about. Yeah. And while you got the counselor talking about, no, but you have to take your requirements first. You got to take math, reading, English. I'm like, yeah, I'll take all that. What are the electives? Yeah. And they're like, well, you got dance. I'm like, You got theater. Okay. You got swimming. All right, I could definitely do that. Okay, cool. We have all these things, and I'm like, yes. And I'm thinking, all right, these are all the cool things that I could learn for free, you know? And then I don't have to pay for it outside, and I'm like, I'm just going to get it out of it. And I remember that they saw that I was taking all my electives first, and they're like, I don't think that's a good idea. And because you're never going to graduate. You're going to leave everything for, you know, like last. And I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. And then I took all my electives. By the way, I did not graduate college. That was never the plan, because what am I going to do? Go up to Steven Spielberg and be like, look, I got a diploma in drama education. Totally. Get out of here. So I'm like, I know what I want to do. I already had the plan. Yeah, my family wasn't for it. They were kind of like, are you sure? And I'm like, I know what I want, you know, and I think that is the most important thing, you know, and the day I have kids, that's all I want. You know, as long as you know what you want and you're going towards it, then that's it. Why am I going to spend time in school for years, you know, and I saw it so many times. I even saw it with my own mother, and that's what I was scared of. And that's what actually made me make the choice that I made, was because she's like, everything I went to school for, I never ended up doing. Of course. And I'm like every other person in the world. You know what I mean? I'm just like, yeah, that's not going to be me. I'm going to go to school, take advantage of this free money they're giving me, and take everything that I need to take to, become more skilled or whatever it is. And that's exactly what I did. I went to school for that. I took drama classes. I did all that. I got an A in all that. And then when I started, had to take math and English and all that. I did take English, though, because English, I do, we had to do a lot of writing and stuff like that, and I always enjoyed writing.
Okay.
So, I had like honors English, and then I had remedial math.
Totally.
Yeah, I was like, they were like, so what's going on? I'm like, I just ain't got no time.
Yeah.
So I didn't take any of those classes. I just, focused on what I wanted to do. And then once I was done, like, I had everything planned out. Yep. And then I'm like, now I'm going to, take acting classes in Miami. And, I'm going to get to work, different disciplines. And that's how it went. So I'm a big believer in, if you know what you want and you have a plan, just go after it. Don't waste time. And that was exactly where I was at.
I 100% agree with that. That's like a question I get from a lot of adolescents in my Instagram and stuff, is like, asking what they should do. And it's really hard for me to bite my tongue and tell them, like, don't pursue college, because like I went myself. But at the very root of it, like, if you know what you want to do, I feel like the bigger the jump start you can get on it, the better.
Yeah, definitely.
I have a student I'm training right now. She's 17 years old, and her family has moved out here because her brother is like pursuing the entertainment industry as well. And all she's doing is, like, every day I see on her, besides taking privates with me, she's taking private lessons at Tempest. She's taking wushu classes on the side. She already knows that she wants to be a stunt woman at 17, and she's already actively pursuing it, and her family's behind her. And I'm like, you're going to probably have a greater career than I did, because I feel like I got a later start than you did, So.
Right. I feel like what the best way I describe it to people that reach out and ask the same question is, the janitor keys.
Yeah.
How they have like 100 different keys.
Tons of them, yeah.
You just gotta put that into every door and see what works for you. Because I could tell you what worked for me, that might not work for you. Yes. But generally what I could say will work for everyone is just follow what your gut tells you and what you want to do, not what people are telling you should do. Like, sure, obviously, if you want to be a doctor, you got to go to school. There's no way around that. Of course, if you want to be a surgeon and stuff like that, there's no way around that. I can tell you, hey, don't do that. Just go do an open heart surgery and you're good. Definitely want to go to school for that. But, things that have to do with entertainment, like I said, there's so many keys to it. You got to figure out what door, works for you, and just kind of keep doing that. And eventually you'll come across that door that opens up so many opportunities for you, and basically that's it, So,
no, I totally agree.
But yeah, I agree with you, in the, especially the young ones. It's like, don't go to school. Definitely not. No, you want to go to school.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm efficient. Like, I just want to. I'm either black or white. Like, I want to do what I know works, and then what doesn't. Like, I want it out of my schedule and out of my time. Like, I don't have time for that. So that's just the way I am, and I feel like people in this business are like that. If you want to get somewhere. Because there's so many ways you can waste time.
Yes.
So yeah.
Life is short, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta make the most of it. I read a quote that really affected me like a couple years ago that says, like, if you calculate the amount of time between age 12 and age 65 where you subtract sleeping, you really only have like 32 years of life.
That's insane.
But people think it's like they have like 50 something. And I'm like, dang.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Because like we do sleep, like, if you sleep 8 hours out of the day, that's a third of the day that's already gone, And so when you add it all up, it's like we really do have a minimal amount of time on this earth. And so like ever since I read that, every day is just attacking my dreams, whether it's crazy, whether I fail. I feel like they're all just learning experiences. And at the end of the day, at least we'll have zero regrets if I do things on my terms, as opposed to like just waiting for the universe to like let things come to me, So.
You're going to be the reason for my insomnia, man.
She's not going to sleep anymore.
I'm going to be like, damn it, Travis, because I'm not sleeping. It's like my life is being cut short. No, I sleep like 5 hours a day. I'm usually good. 5-6 hours. I'm like 8 hours is too much. Yeah. I mean, I only hibernate if I really need it.
Yeah.
But
I feel you on that.
Yeah.
And so like you kind of mentioned it and alluded to it, but like before you got into parkour and stuff like that, I know that you were like very much into bodybuilding, like you said. Like, how long were you doing that? Like, how many hours a day were you training to get to that point? Because we're going to have like another talk based on that, I know, because from stuff we talked about off camera,
Yeah. I did that for like 4 years.
Okay.
I started because I actually used to be overweight.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was never like, I'm not gonna say fat, but I was chunky and I was really unconfident. I mean, I'm like 5'2" and I weighed like 140, you know, and that's chunky. I was not happy with myself physically. Obviously, that affects you mentally. And I also suffered growing up from anxiety disorder. It was just so many things going on. And I wanted something that would challenge me, that would really push me and make me feel like I was on the edge. And I always was really shy of being, you know, like the center of attention. Although I wanted it, I was always really shy. And I think it has a lot to do with the way I was raised, because my parents were always really overprotective. And I feel like that, being so overprotective and cautious with everything, it kind of like affected me in not a good way. Because I was always a go-getter deep inside, and I was always someone that wanted to explore the world, adventurous, spontaneous, but I couldn't really explore who I really was, because all I was ever taught was, don't do this, don't do that, be careful. And then once, you know, I got older, I realized I'm like, this is not who I am, you know? I know it sounds like a Disney princess story, but, you know, it's not who I am, and I'm like, I need to, you know, like get out there and start doing what I love and not listen to my family, which were hindering me. And a lot of us don't even realize that our family sometimes could be our worst enemy. You know, and they don't mean, you know, they mean well. They just don't know, you know, sometimes, because they're, you know, without noticing, kind of rubbing off their own insecurities on their own kids. And that's basically what they were doing to me growing up. And I decided to, you know, I'm like, I want to get into bodybuilding. Like, I just want to be able to stand on stage and just be like, I feel good. Like, I feel like accepted. I wanted to be able to stand next to other beautiful girls, because I grew up not feeling like I was equal in that sense, you know? And to me, that was my goal, I didn't even care if I won anything. I'm like, I just want to stand on stage in a bikini in the best shape of my life with other beautiful girls. That's all I wanted to do. And then I started training towards it. It was really difficult during that time too, because I was also having some kind of like eating problems that I had developed. And, you know, nothing was sitting right. It's really difficult when most of your meals have to be protein. And that's what sits bad in your stomach. And I had to basically do like 3 to 4 months of just strict eating. And that was wake up at 5 a.m. to do, you know, to eat my breakfast, wait 2 hours to then go train, then go home, go to sleep, eat, go to sleep, wake up again, get ready to go to the gym in a little bit again, because I was doing 2-a-days. It was something very, very difficult and challenging for me, and also mentally. Especially since, you know, I was going through like anxiety and stuff like that, anything would trigger it. And although it was so difficult, I'm like, I'm not giving up on this. And I did it successfully. I mean, I got 11th place out of 66 girls, I must say, okay? So, you know, it wasn't too bad, but it wasn't, I was like, okay, well, that kind of sucked. But at least I got on stage with other girls, and, you know, I looked great, but I wasn't happy still. Even then, I wasn't happy. And I thought to myself, I'm like, man, like, you know, once I get on stage and, you know, I'm like super like fit and I can stand next to beautiful girls, I'm finally going to be happy. And I still wasn't happy. I was actually more miserable. And it was because I wasn't happy with the way my body looked even. Like, I was super skinny. I looked like a burned roach, you know, after they put like the tanning thing on you. I'm like, what is this? And then afterwards, I decided to do another competition, but do it my way. So I try to be a little bit more flexible, listen more to my body. I did implement like fruits, because on the first competition, the only thing that I was able to have as a cheat was gum. That was my cheat.
Crazy.
Like, meaning like flavorful gum. That was my cheat. It was mostly, I was eating like turkey, and broccoli, or, you know, like some kind of meat or chicken with like sweet potato. That was my meal, like the whole day.
No sugar carbs, basically.
No sugar, not even a banana. God forbid, I told my trainer, I had a piece of a banana, it would kill me. And I couldn't even have Crystal Light. It was just water and that. I did that for 3 months. And I feel like that could have been the cause of, like, you know, the way my digestive system is now, so picky. But then afterwards I decided to do my second competition, and I did it more my way. I'm like, I need to listen to my body.
Totally.
Because something I learned about nutrition is that although a lot of us can tell you, oh, you should eat this, you should eat that, I feel like we need to listen to ourselves, because not everybody's body's the same.
Yeah, totally.
We're built differently, and there's some things that surprisingly we do need in our body, although some people are like, you shouldn't have that. I know it's kind of funny, but I realized I needed chocolate.
Okay.
Crazy.
Okay.
But that would actually give me energy and like get me like going. I don't know what it is about it, but like I would have some chocolate and I'm like, I'm good. And I did the second competition. I looked way better. I was able to build more muscle. I actually had my body looking the way I wanted it to. And I did my own swimsuit, and I did it of Wonder Woman.
Dope.
And I remember I had like, like the little headpiece that she wears. And I went on stage and they were like, so you can't wear that because it's against the NPC guidelines, because, it's obviously
got a logo, branded
right,
logo.
it's a logo. Yeah. And then I'm like, it's just a star. It's not like the actual logo. It's just like, yeah, but like you can't wear that. And they're like, if you do that, you're going to get second place. And I'm like, because towards the night, you already know who's going to win or not.
Yeah,
the judges kind of like tell you or hint it. And I'm like, so what you're saying is I'm getting first place. And they're like, yeah, but you can't wear that. You got to take it off. And I'm like, yeah, but I want to leave. I want people to know who I was, because I wanted to come out in the, I think it was like muscle fitness online. I wanted to come out like looking like Wonder Woman.
Totally.
And it's just, for me, it was like just a symbol of power and of I did things my way. And taking that from me, because I did my whole outfit myself, was kind of like letting somebody do with my life what they wanted to. It kind of like felt a little bit like my parents were in the way, kind of telling me, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I go to them, well, what's the worst thing that could happen if I do decide to keep it on? Oh, I mean, you just won't get first place. And I'm like, but would the photographers get photos of me for the online thing? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, all right. So I kept it on the whole time. I got second place. And I remember the judges came up to me and they're like, so why would you leave that on your head? Didn't you want first place? And I'm like, let me ask you a question. What's the name of the girl that got first place? And they're like, give me a second. And I'm like, exactly. What's my name? Yessenia. That's all I want. You remember me.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted. I want people to remember me. And to me, that's more important than winning first place, because I know I could have had it if I wanted it. And to me, that was just more than enough. So many people were talking about it, and like doing like Instagram videos. I'm like, oh my God, look at this girl on stage or whatever. And I'm like, I just want to leave and be like, okay, people know who I am. I inspired people. I even had little kids come up to me. They're like, oh my God, I love the way you look, whatever. And to me, that was more important than winning first place. So, for me, just there's so many things that are bigger in life than sometimes just taking the grand prize, you know, and it's, for me is just still doing things and being myself. Like, I don't want anybody to take that from me. And even coming into the entertainment business, that's one thing I've done. And I've had people tell me, it's like, how do you stay so grounded? And so, when you're surrounded by so many people that I guess are big-headed, if that's what you want to call it, because with time, it starts getting to you. And I'm like, no, it gets to you if you let it. You know what I mean? And I don't feel like I'm there, but I'm on my way. And I don't feel like I would ever change the way that I am. I'm too grounded for that. And I have my own rules, I don't feel like people would ever influence me into changing the person I am, because since I was little, I would always fight for my own thoughts and my own beliefs. So I feel like that has to do a lot with the way you are.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
No, that's super cool. That's a really good story. And I always tell people that's the same thing. It's like, it's more important to leave an impact and be memorable than it is sometimes for like the end result, like as long as you leave your mark and people remember who you are, that's like the most important thing.
Right. Because that's what people take with them. Like, what are you going to take to your grave, the trophy or the memory, Yeah,
I've told the story before on the JAMCast on one episode, but my first day of college, first day of business class, my econ professor came out and he like literally was this grumpy old man, and he looked over like the classroom with like 600 of us, and he just like literally he pointed and he laughed and he said something I never forgot, which was, he's like, look at all you nerds in here sitting with your pens and paper and laptops and writing down every word I say. He's like, remember this. He's like, it doesn't matter what happens in this class. He's like, if you can walk out of this classroom on a Friday night and meet somebody, and in the first 15 seconds, they remember who you are, that's the most valuable thing you can learn in college. And I was like, damn. And I'll never forget that, because ever since that day, it probably affected a lot of why I didn't go to class all the time. But I was like, you know, if I can just make people remember who I am in the first few seconds of meeting them, as opposed to maybe like doing so well book smart wise, then yeah, he's probably right. That's probably the most important thing I can take away from this experience.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that's the goal always.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Because that's how you keep not just getting work, but people, you know, if they remember you, then, you know, you stay in their train of thought, and they trust you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Especially in our business, like we're basically like our own brand. Like you're basically building your name, which is your own brand, and you just want people to buy your brand and you know, have a good reputation for your brand. And so, yeah, if you're someone that's just forgettable, for lack of a better term, like you probably won't have as long lasting of a career as someone who everyone remembers your name and constantly will recommend you and stuff like that. So yeah that makes sense.
It's kind of like, I asked myself this question years ago, and I don't remember who they brought it up, and I'm like, that's a good point. I'm like, why does McDonald's and Burger King and Taco Bell keep doing advertisements? Like, it makes no sense. Like, everybody knows who they are. They know it's there. You know, they don't have to, like, you know, and that's what it is. It's just, it's more like, hey, remember me. Hey, you know, it's that. It's, you know, and sometimes when, something I learned in marketing, although people know, you know, who you are, you want to post a photo, post a video. It's just kind of like a memory. It's like, hey, I'm here. And it's happened so many times, and people don't understand the power of that.
Yeah.
That has happened so many times that as soon as I post a photo or a video, people are like, hey, are you available to work next Monday? And I'm like, I don't think that was a coincidence.
Yeah, totally.
But sometimes people be like, hey, like I saw you in this outfit, and actually I was thinking I needed somebody like that. You know, like, are you available for this? And that's what you want. You know, you want people to remember you and to keep you in mind. And I think, and that's when I was like, oh man, McDonald's and Burger King makes a great point. Like, you know, they want to stay in people's head.
Yep.
And that's what it is.
Yeah, for a long time, I feel like there was like a negative connotation with social media for a lot of understood reasons. I think it can obviously be a negative thing and detrimental to some people and the effect it has on kids. But for a long time, I feel like there was, even especially in the stunt industry, a lot of people looked down upon it, you know, just because it's something that's not normal. You know, we're not actors and we're not always like out there to promote ourselves. But over time, I'm starting to see a lot more of the new generation really tapping into social media marketing as a way to just continue to not only, you know, put out stuff that is memorable for their own sake, but also like it's a way, like you said, to just remind people of like what you're doing. I find like some of the most successful people are the ones that are still putting out like practice fight scenes, or they're putting out training footage of them doing something cool, whether it's stunt related or even just, you know, like for example, Christopher Troy will put out like random things of him like doing bow and arrows in his backyard. But like it keeps people like your name at the forefront of like their minds and keeps it active. And you know, in a business that we work in where it's literally based on word of mouth and reputation, there's no auditions and stuff.
Right.
You know, I think that it should be a lot, it should be used more as a positive tool than looked down upon.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And I feel like a lot of people don't just want to see you training or, you know, like always at work. They kind of sometimes just want to see, you know, that other side of you that has nothing to do with that. Maybe spending time with family, maybe, I don't know, like doing a joke on someone or just doing that. It just anything. Like sometimes I've found that the most amount of fans that I get, or just people that are like, man, I look up to her, mostly is when I'm not doing things that have to do with work.
Totally.
Because they're like, they could relate.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so hard to, because most of the people that follow us, people in the entertainment business, they don't do what we do, most of them. Yeah, we have friends that are also involved, but, you know, they don't look at it with the same eyes that the regulars do. That's what I mean. You know, like the people that have a regular 9-to-5 job, you know, that doing something as simple as, you know, like a wire gag or whatever, for them is something like, oh my God, like that's insane. And for somebody in the stunt industry, it's like, yeah, whatever. Did you do a gooch? Like, well, what's so great about that? You know, like nothing grand. But this is the way I see it. And something I've actually told some people that, you know, are trying to grow in that sense. You got to think about the people that are putting money in your pocket. The people putting money in your pocket or helping you, you know, with your career are not the ones that, you know, are like your friends, you know, that are talented and, you know, do all this crazy stuff. It's like a lot of the times they're just people, you know, that they work in production and they just want to see, you know, somebody that does something cool or whatever it is. So who are you really impressing, you know? And that's something that a lot of people, even stunt, you know, performers, actors, people in the entertainment don't think about. Like they always think about, oh, should I post this? No, because, you know, what are my friends going to think? Like it's not good enough. You know, that was a miss or whatever. You definitely don't want to post things that you feel is going to jeopardize you in any way. Totally. But sometimes I feel like you think too much when something is actually good content. And at the end of the day, who are you really trying to reel in? You know, you want your audience, which most of them are people with regular 9-to-5 jobs, or do you want the 5% of stuntmen and women that follow you? Yeah. You know, and for me, it's like that. Like when you look at my Instagram, it's not just stunt stuff. You know, I post basically a little bit of everything. Yeah. I, you know, post, you know, selfies. I post, you know, parkour. I post stunts. I post me stretching, a picture of my dog and me or whatever, you know, because people want to see who is, and more when you are, you know, like a character, mm-hmm. you know, in a show. People want to see you. A lot of the times people want to do lives with me, you know, the fans. Not because they want me to talk about Ultimate Tag. They just kind of want to see how you are, you know, who are you as a person? They want to be able to relate to you, and then that's when they become fans. Yeah. You know, like I follow The Rock and stuff, and, you know, like a few celebrities, and a lot of the times I don't care about, yeah, it's cool, oh shit, you know, like a new movie, whatever, but a lot of times I'm like, I just want to see him with his kids, or what does he like to eat, and, you know, I love like his pancake post, and, you know, like his French toast, and I'm just like, oh man, he eats like me, yes, it's like he loves cookies, you know, like things like that, like that's what people want to see, you know, like people just want to see that you're human, and you just happen to do something that you love. Yeah,
no, I totally agree. I think it's no coincidence that like, you know, a decade ago, there was this gigantic rise and success of reality-based television. You know, for a long time, the only celebrities that we had in the world were people that were movie stars or like rock stars and musicians and stuff like that. But then, you know, now you have people like, for example, the most successful show on MTV, like one of them is Jersey Shore, which just followed the lives of some ratchet people having fun, living their lives, getting drunk, and just living everyday life. And it's because people just want to see other people and like feel relatable to them and be like, oh, they make bad decisions like I do. Oh, you know, they say stupid things and party like I do, you know? So yeah, I think that sometimes, especially as, you know, people in this industry, like you said, we have to be careful about what we put out that doesn't damage our brand. But at the same time, like I've been guilty of it myself, where for years in the past, I would stockpile footage because I was from a generation of samplers where you wouldn't put out footage until you had like a sampler of 4 minutes that was just everything that was your best. Whereas now I see kids that put out training clips every single day. And I'm so jealous and envious in a lot of ways that for, you know, so long in my career, I didn't put out a lot of stuff. And as a result, I don't have it out to look back on. And it's, you know, it's like completely different than like this new age generation that can literally for the rest of their lives look at these things that they did every day. You know? Yeah, definitely. So, it's crazy. A different generation now. Things are super different. Like, I think we just have to learn how to adapt, and a lot of people want to stay stuck in that era where they're like, I'm not going to post anything. I still know a lot of people that are like, no, I don't like posting. I don't like social media. But yet you're asking me, how do I grow? I don't know. I'm like, I don't know how to help you there. You know what I mean? Because as much as we don't like it, and trust me, in the beginning, I hated Instagram. If you had Instagram, we would not speak. I was kind of like, oh, you're that kind of person. Totally. To me. I was like, you're an Instagram person. You know, and it's like... It's so difficult because you don't, you know what I mean? You don't want to be looked at as that person, but you got to become that person if you want to grow. And unfortunately, in these times, that's the only way. Social media is a huge thing. And a lot of people are just not giving it the attention, you know, and I've seen some people that are super talented. I'm like, dude, if you put that clip up, it might go viral. Or, you know, like there's so many clips that have so much potential, and some people are like, no, I'm not going to be taken seriously, or... like I don't want to make it look like I'm showing off. It's like, I know, but that's exactly what you got to do. Totally. And you know, like even Chris, like I tell him, like a lot of times he doesn't want to post things, and then I'm just like, if you don't let people know what you can do, which I'm sure the people that know you're very capable, then nobody's gonna hire you, because you have so many talents. There's so many people like that are so talented in so many different areas.
but they don't let the world know, then you're just, you know, gonna just die with so many talents and not do anything about it. You got to share it with the world, you know, and that's just the way it is. And that's what I do. And that's the way I manage my social media, and people can think whatever they want. I don't care. You know, like, I'm just like, I like to share with the world what I do, what I've learned, my failures, my success, you know. I like them to see that I'm also human. I'm not perfect. I'm just somebody that, you know, it's still in her journey, you know, trying to not just also figure things out, but become better, learn, you know, and I'm just on my way. That's all I could say. I'm just on my way. I'm not nowhere yet, but I feel like I've already succeeded because I've reached to become the person that one day I thought was impossible to become. And to me, that is more important than that, you know, so-called ultimate success where people are like, I made it. And it's funny because a lot of the times I would think to myself, at what point do you feel like that? Mm-hmm. Because you keep going through life, you keep getting, you know, these projects and working all these things, and you're kind of like, I don't feel like at any point you ever feel like you made it. You know, you just kind of keep working, and then you take a moment to look back and be like, wow, like, I've done all that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel good. Like, I feel successful, even if I haven't reached the epitome of what people call success, you know, but you've become successful because you've overcome, you know, for me at least, my anxiety disorder. I've overcome, you know, eating disorders. I've overcome, you know, weight loss and weight gain, you know, and so many things. So for me, I feel successful.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Now, along the lines of kind of like humanizing yourself, who, you know, you have tons of fans out there that see you as like this image of Dynamite and stuff like that. I know one of the things that you and I have talked about off camera before is kind of like food sensitivity and like the way that you've had to change your diet, which you kind of, I think, said that like you think may have been affected by the amount of protein and stuff you're doing back in your bodybuilding days and stuff like that. And food sensitivity has been something that's been like really key for myself, and that I try to like spread awareness to my friends about, because I feel like a lot of people take for granted the fact that what you're putting into your body is not only fuel, but like in a lot of ways, some of the things you pick and choose can be detrimental to just your overall lifestyle and the way that your body processes things and stuff like that. So, you know, just really quickly for maybe some viewers out there that are going through and dealing with the same stuff, can you just like let people know like what you've had to adapt over the years, and the way that you like currently have to, you know, for lack of a better term, like choose what you eat and choose what you put into your body?
Yeah, so this happened probably like 3 years ago, where I started becoming really sensitive to certain foods, and it doesn't happen immediately. It seems to happen gradually. Okay. And you start picking up on it. And the sad part about it is that, you know, the first train of thought that comes is like, okay, I need to go see a nutritionist. I need to go see, you know, these specialists that at the end of the day, a lot of times don't end up helping. I think you need like a scientist at this point with this kind of, I guess they like to call IBS. Yeah. But I would eat chicken, turkey, and, you know, I wasn't really big ever on like eating meat. But, you know, here and there I'll have like a steak. You know, I grew up in a Cuban household. Yeah. You know, these people are carnivores. They love, you know, their pork and their steak. And I remember like about 3 years ago, I got really sick. I had like some turkey or something. And I was like, man, what's wrong with me? I couldn't figure it out. I ended up in the hospital, and they had to like flush me out completely because my immune system shut down.
No way. Okay.
So my immune system took my whatever I was putting in my body as a threat. So you know how our immune system basically protects us from, you know, bacteria and viruses and stuff like that. Like, they fight it. So my immune system was fighting the wrong thing.
Crazy.
I guess, if you want to call it the wrong thing. Vegans are like, no, it's the right thing. But my immune system was fighting basically most protein. And I'm just like, what the heck is going on? So I'm like, okay, fine. Like, I won't eat turkey. I'll eat chicken. So I started just eating chicken, and that's all I would eat. And then I started becoming really sensitive to it too. And it's not just like any sensitivity that it's, you know, just for a small period of time. No, it's hospital, and my bills are, you know,
crazy.
Yeah. And because when your body shuts down, you can't throw up. You can't go to the bathroom. You can't do anything. Yeah. So I had to go to the hospital so they could flush me out. And it was so painful because they give you things to provoke a stomach ache, to provoke nausea. Wow. So they're provoking these things that we try to avoid because it feels like you're dying.
Totally.
So they would provoke these things with medications to try to flush me out.
Crazy.
And I was like, I can't, like, I'll never have turkey again in my life, ever. And I didn't. And then I'm like, I'm just going to have chicken then. And they're like, yeah, maybe you have like a turkey sensitivity. I don't know. And I'm like, fine, I'll just have, you know, turkey, chicken and like fish and steak, whatever. And then I started moving to chicken. And I got the same thing with chicken. Damn. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like, I started getting like mad, you know, because I'm like, what do I eat? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to go the route where I feel this is going, you know, because when you're a carnivore, thinking about becoming vegan is, you know, not a great experience. Like, you don't want, you know, you like meat. And then that got me sick too. And I'm like, okay, I don't like steak. I'm not a big meat eater. And I definitely don't want to have that because red meat is even heavier on the stomach. Totally. So I'm like, I'm not going to have that as even a choice. So I turned to fish. And I'm like, maybe I just have to become a pescatarian. And I had fish, and it did not send me to the hospital, but it sat bad in my stomach too. Wow. Okay. Yeah, it didn't make me feel good. And actually, it triggered my anxiety. And I'll tell you in a little bit how that works. It triggered my anxiety. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I remember it was 3 years ago, I was in Atlanta, and I'm like, you know, feeling helpless at this point. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. The nutritionist said, you know, okay, fine, just eat these things. And it wasn't really helping because most of the things that she suggested was just carbs. And I'm like, I'm an athlete. Yeah, yeah. Like, that is not an option, woman. Like, you know, she's like, well, you know, if you're very careful. And I'm like, yeah, but a lot of times I'm on set and stuff like that. Like, I can't, like, what am I going to eat? And she's like, well, have you ever thought about becoming vegan? And I'm like, so back to how you're going to help me. And she's like, you know, well, vegetarian or vegan. And I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, all right. So I started trying, you know, some foods, experimenting. I'm like, where do you even start? Yeah. Like, I'm like, do you get a book? Like, what do you do? And I was lost. You know, I had to do a lot of research. I had to figure a lot of things out myself. And it gets even trickier because I started eating a lot of, you know, like vegan food, like falafel and, you know, tofu. Mm-hmm. I had tofu one day, it got me sick. Wow. I'm like, all right, now I give up. Yeah. Like, what am I going to die? Like, just why? Drink water, yeah. What's going on? Like, I can't eat anything. I'm thinking it was, you know, the meat. I can't have tofu. I looked it up. Yeah, tofu has estrogen. Yeah. It's hormones. Yeah. So basically, it was, I'm assuming, like a hormone issue. Yeah, nobody was able to pinpoint anything because they said that with what I have with IBS is really difficult to see. Because your body 1 week might be like, I'm good, I'm all for it. And then the next week will send me to the hospital. And it's very unpredictable. Okay. And the only thing I figured that I could do is just kind of listen to my body and my stomach and what I want to have at the moment. Because even if it's safe, like vegetables or whatever it is, you know, like sometimes if I'm having an off day and I eat that, I can become sick. So it was just a stomach sensitivity of basically most foods, except for carbs. Crazy. Carbs and sugar was the only thing that never let me down. Wow. But then I couldn't have too much sugar because it would trigger anxiety. Yeah, yeah. So I went to an acupuncture, and it was the only person that made sense. And they're like, well, based on, you know, they put the needles all over you and stuff. And she looked into my stomach and she said, well, it seems to me like you have a stomach deficiency because it was all in red. Everything was green, and my stomach was all in red. Crazy. And she's like, it looks like you have a stomach deficiency. Like, you're missing certain minerals, you know, and stuff like that, like zinc. And there's certain things that your body's not producing that you need to take. And we don't know this. Like, we're not born knowing, like, oh, you know, I need more of this vitamin or that mineral. It's one of those things that you kind of have to, like, figure out on your own as you see that your body is reacting. And yeah, I was, you know, missing magnesium, zinc, and I had to start drinking those to become better, and probiotics, those kind of helped. But I mean, they even did an endoscopy to put the thing through full tube. Yeah, and the most frustrating day of my life was when he came back and said, "You're good. You have nothing." And I'm like, this is the only time in my life that I kind of wish you would have said something different. Like, so I could just figure it out and solve it. Like I said earlier, I'm the kind of person that if there's a problem, I'll look for the solution. But how do you find a solution if nobody could find the problem? Totally. And that was my biggest thing. And I was going insane. And then what I do now is basically I just listen to my body. I mostly do eat carbs. I do have proteins, but I usually get them, you know, like different sources. I don't eat tofu. I usually eat beans. Okay. And I can't have just any beans. Like I could have chickpeas, and I could have red beans and lentils.
Okay.
I can't have black beans.
Wow.
I could, but it's not gonna be a good day. So it's just like a stomach deficiency that I feel happened with the time that I was doing bodybuilding.
Crazy.
Yeah, and reading more into it, there's a lot of people that go into bodybuilding that develop, eating disorders. Some people become bulimic. Some people become, just have stomach deficiency. A lot of people become vegan, and it's from eating just so overdoing your protein. It's not good for you. And I overdid my protein for 3 years. And it was, and I was really strict with my diet, so I would have exactly what they had me do. And whenever I would become hungry, as a bodybuilder, whenever you get hungry, like let's say at night, you eat either Crystal Light, you make it into a popsicle, or you have a piece of chicken or turkey. You have just protein, but that's the only thing you can have. So a lot of times I'll get hungry at night, and like I'll eat sometimes like 11 ounces of turkey a day, every day. And then chicken, like about the same. So like I was having like a lot of protein, and I think I overdid it, and something in my system just, it went off, and now basically I'm stuck with whatever it is that my body has. And I still have not yet figured out what it is, and I don't feel like anybody will be able to. I just have to kind of adjust to what I could eat. It's just funky because most of the things that I could eat are carbs, but then I also have to be careful to not like gain weight.
Totally.
And it's insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because it's like you have to have a good diet and eat organic and stay away from food coloring and all that, but then you don't have a lot of choices. So it's kind of weird when you go out with friends and eat, and it's kind of like you look at the waiter and it's like you don't even try. It's like, I'll have a glass of water and a bowl of lettuce.
Totally.
Good. I can't have the Caesar dressing either. So it's like, yeah.
No, that's crazy. And I mean, I think it's a far more common thing that a lot of us know. Just a lot of people either aren't receptive to it or even aware of the issues that they're having caused by it. And it's something I had to do too. Like I did like a food intolerance test, a food allergy test, and I found out there were some things that I was eating like daily that really don't sit well within my own system, or that my system would waste too much energy trying to process it. And it was actually like making me tired and like taking away from what I thought was like a healthy, nutritious lifestyle. I had a homegirl that I took a test with, and she found out she's not supposed to eat kale. And she was eating kale smoothies, kale salads every single day. And it really like opened her eyes up to like, holy crap, like this is why, even though I think I'm eating healthy, I'm still feeling a little bogged down and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
that actually happens to me, but with watermelon.
Wow.
It dehydrates me.
No
Isn't that
way.
insane?
And it's full of water. That's
right,
crazy.
and it's supposed to hydrate you. It dehydrates me, and it makes my blood pressure go down.
That's interesting.
Like I've fainted like 3 times off just eating it. And it's weird because I could have things that consume it as long as it's artificial, but I can't have it as a whole.
No way.
So like if my body could detect that it's watermelon, then it'll get me sick. And it kind of makes sense in a way because years ago, one of the kids that I would help out a lot, her name is Zoe, she has cancer, neuroblastoma. And I remember going into her room to say hello to her, and she was eating pizza, drinking Coca-Cola, and eating gummy bears. I look at her mom, and the doctor, and I'm just like, I'm not going to say anything. It's not my business.
It's not,
what is she doing? Like, what are you doing eating those things? It's so bad for you. And basically what her mom explained to me is obviously even after you have the disease, it doesn't matter at that point. And also, she can't eat anything that's organic or anything that is like real, It has to be all artificial because
crazy.
What happens is things that are real and organic have natural bacterias that her body or people when they have a bad stomach cannot tolerate.
Okay.
So your body cannot tolerate bacteria or natural or organic food. You have to eat either Pop-Tarts or things that are like artificial that the body won't know. Like it'll take it as food, but it won't be able to pinpoint like, oh, that's milk. Oh, that's egg.
Totally.
Oh. So whenever I would get sick, I would literally be eating just Pop-Tarts.
Crazy.
Yeah, brown sugar Pop-Tarts the whole day. And they'll be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, eating Pop-Tarts. And they're like, okay, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird. weird.
Yeah, we all have like unique bodies and systems, like you said. And I feel like it's been like a universal theme of this entire talk we had is like, you just got to do what works for yourself, whether it's food or your own like career path or going to college and stuff like that. Like, and your use of social media, you really just have to like do what works for your own individual path, because what works for everyone's not going to be the same for you. And I think it applies to everything. So.
Definitely. If I could say just one more thing.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Something that I found, I did some research, and a lot of us don't know the food coloring.
Yes.
That is in everything.
Totally.
In everything.
People don't realize.
You people looking at this right now, you have to look at the ingredients of the things you're buying. It's in your toothpaste. It's in your body wash. It's in your detergent. It's in your food. I started doing my own research. You know, I'm still trying to figure, you know, this whole diet issue. And this is definitely one of the reasons that a lot of people get cancer, that a lot of people have ADHD, that they have anxiety disorder, or just all these crazy things that we get that we're like, but most people in the world don't get this except for people in the US. Yeah, well, you know, a lot of the products that we consume have food coloring.
Red 40,
you know, like red 40, blue 1, and yellow 6. And all those things, you know, with time, obviously if you have like one piece of candy corn, you know, it's not going to do anything to you. You consume these things every single day in every way. Because although you're like, okay, I'm not going to eat anything that has food coloring, well, what about your detergent? What about your toothpaste? And
just touching you.
Everything. Yeah. Everything has it. So now every time I go to the store, I always buy things that are organic or just don't have any coloring or anything. And I just completely try to stay away from it. So definitely that's something to look into and research.
No, that's totally cool. Yeah, I'm very aware of that as well. It's funny. Yeah, it's very funny. And I've had like this weird phobia that some of my best friends know, but for some reason my whole life I like don't eat red candy for some reason. And I don't know if it's my body, like, you know, just putting up this like inherent warning flag and stuff like that, but I've kind of strayed away from it. And then like later in life, researched a lot of the stuff that you researched. And I'm like, wow, maybe my body was just like protecting myself without even knowing it, you know? So no, that's funny. Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that, because I feel like there's a lot of people listening that probably are dealing with stuff like this.
And that they don't know.
They're just not aware. You know? So
you're going to see a lot of people running into their bathroom like, oh my God, the toothpaste.
Take a look. Yeah, exactly. Now
look at it, please, guys. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like along the lines of that, like, you know, besides obviously the advice that we just given about like nutrition and obviously things to stay away with food, what advice would you give to, you know, a young girl or anyone that's listening to it, I guess, regardless of gender right now? Like, what advice would you have for them if they're trying to get into the entertainment industry and follow in your footsteps and stuff like that?
That's always a difficult question to answer, right? Because there's so many different routes and ways and things that you could do. And a lot of them are not going to work sometimes. Like I said earlier, you know, it's like the janitor keys. You have a bunch of keys. You got to figure out which one works. The first thing I would say, definitely, if you're trying to become a stunt performer, take martial arts. It's so necessary. You know, if you could take parkour classes, it would be great, because it would help you with your explosiveness and, you know, with your fears and stuff like that. I would definitely say to train in everything and anything you possibly can. Just anything.
Totally.
Like skating, skateboarding, whatever, everything, swimming. Just become as well-rounded as possible. And above all, stick to what you love the most. You know, because although we want to become well-rounded people, there's always that one thing that they're going to hire you the most for. Yeah. You know, if your specialty is fighting, if it's flipping, whatever it is, that's what they're going to call you for. You know, you can't, you know, be like, oh, well, I know how to do everything equally. Yes, even if you do, you don't want to be that person. You know, you want to definitely show them that you have a focus, and then, you know, they'll hire you based on that. In the beginning, it's very difficult. It is extremely difficult because you don't know where to start. What do you do? I will say one thing that did help me when I started. I went on imdb.com. I went on there and I started looking up actresses that I feel I could double. Mm-hmm. You know, I also started looking up like the information of the casting directors and just becoming familiar with your surroundings. And the people, and also a lot of their information is on there. I definitely wouldn't, you know, suggest that you hit them up unless you're ready with, you know, like your reel or something and they're welcoming of that. But definitely do your research. I would say the biggest thing, number one, is train. Number 2, network. Very important. You know, network is one of the most powerful tools, and a lot of people don't use it because, you know, they're either shy or they don't know where to even start a conversation.
Totally.
I would go to every networking event possible. I would even go to real estate networking events, like, because my mom is a real estate agent.
Yeah.
I would go anywhere and everywhere. That was just me. I was very ambitious. I always wanted to, like, I wanted everyone to know who I was, because the more people know you, the merrier. And that's how basically you get work. Like, I remember, like, somebody reached out to me, and it was a janitor that reached out to me because they knew someone in the entertainment business. They needed someone that looked like me.
Okay.
And I just happened to spark a conversation with that person one day on set because nobody talks to them, you know, like, and I just speak to everybody. And I'm not trying to be, you know, like this social butterfly, but I feel like everyone deserves the same respect. And that person ended up getting me a job. You know what I mean? So I feel like you definitely need to network, definitely need to train, and be patient. The biggest thing that a lot of people are not is patient, because what happens is you see the highlight reel on all of our social medias and you're like, man, I want to be a stunt person, or I want to be an actor, or whatever it is. But you guys don't understand the training that goes behind it, you know, and a lot of it can be very unmotivating sometimes, you know, because things get in the way. Life keeps happening. Although you're training, life is still happening. You might have losses in your family. You might, I don't know, have to do a career change. You might have to move, you know, you might have kids. Things happen, and life is not going to stop happening, but I don't feel like any of that should ever discourage you from your goal or your dreams.
Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like, you know, those things are definitely very important. Also, marketing yourself. Yeah. You know, start marketing yourself with anything and everything you could do. And another thing I will say about marketing, though, is do not put things out there that is going to misrepresent you either. Yeah. You know, like I try to be very careful with, you know, not posting things that, if you're going to post a fight scene, and I see this all the freaking time, have a few people look at it, because although you feel like, oh man, this is amazing, you know, there's actually some actors that I was teaching in Miami. It was like some stunt training classes, and they immediately wanted to post the smallest thing, and I'm like, okay. You could post, you know, like little stories here and there, like, hey, practicing, whatever, you know, it's good to share with your people, you know, the things you've done, but don't post like a fight scene and without other people, you know, professional people that have actually, you know, like done it or whatever, look into it, because it's going to make you look bad. Totally. Okay. Because although you think it looks great, you know, the director looking at it that might want to hire you for something might be like, that actress can't throw a punch, definitely not hiring her. So you don't want to start opening up your grave before, you know, you even get the job. It's a lot of things, but definitely, like I said, is social media, networking, training, and then just from there on forward, just make a choice. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whatever it is that you want to do with your life, things will happen and unfold as you go. Mm-hmm. Don't ever go into things thinking, okay, like, when are things going to happen? The way life works is you need to show up, which is actually one of the things, one of my quotes that I like to share a lot with people, because somebody years ago shared it with me, and I took it a lot more in than most people did. And I remember this casting director in Miami. He's actually one of the ones that hired Megan Fox. Okay. He casted her, and he goes to me, I don't know how this is going to stick with you, but just show up. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, you'll thank me years later. Like, just show up. And I never knew exactly what he meant by that until years of doing it. And I'm like, a lot of the times I'll be, you know, like, oh, should I go to this audition? Should I do this? Like, I don't know, like, I'm tired. Like, there's probably not going to be anybody there. Or, you know, so many thoughts that go through your head. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to just show up. And from just showing up, I've basically have ended up getting a lot of jobs. Totally. And one of them was Punisher. Because when I first got reached out, it was through Instagram. Yeah. And to me, that was like, that's kind of weird. You know what I mean? But in today's world, that's how it is. So, you know, reached out to me through Instagram, and I'm like, well, who the hell is going to reach out to you? This is what I'm thinking for a Netflix TV show through Instagram, because maybe it would be through email. But in today's world, they reach out to you through anywhere and everywhere. And I'm like, And I remember they were like, oh, you should come on to set, you know, just to say hello or whatever it is. I was in New York. And then I was a little bit like, I don't know if I should or whatever. Like, it's weird. And then, because I was alone too. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just show up. Boom. I showed up. Next thing you know, I'm working like 3 months on this show for just showing up. And, you know, I'm not saying to just show up just to things that you feel in your gut might not be good, but you kind of know sometimes. And that's definitely my best advice, is to just show up and give yourself that time to fail or succeed.
Totally.
Because I feel like a lot of us don't give ourselves that opportunity because you're too busy overthinking.
Yeah, no, I think that's some great advice. I think we've talked about a lot of like universal life lessons that we've both come across in our lives that hopefully we can lend to, you know, whoever's listening to this, regardless of age or gender and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
I think they all can apply.
And one last thing, don't let age be the reason why you don't do what you like.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of people, and I get this so much, and I actually got this recently from one of the contestants on Ultimate Tag. They reached out and they're like, hey, man, I wanted to get into stunts, but I feel like I'm too old. And I'm like, dude, I mean, if you were like 70, then yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You shouldn't get into stunts if you're like that age. You know what I mean? But you're never too old. I'll be honest. Like, I started when I was like 25. I'm 31. You know, I was like 24 going to 25. I was stuck working a job that I didn't like. I was working retail, Best Buy, you know, just regular employee, and I wasn't happy. And I just said, you know, F this, and I left, and I just started pursuing what I loved, you know what I mean? And I never thought to myself, I'm too old. Did the thought slightly come through sometimes? It did. But at the same time, I'm glad I didn't start too young, because based on what I've seen, the way it affects you psychologically when you start too young, it's almost like you don't know how to tell the difference between what you have and what you've never had, kind of thing. And I feel like I've been able to actually experience life and as a regular person, so that when I do get the opportunity of being in that position where so many people, you know, get big-headed or whatever, that won't happen to me. Because I started off as a regular person in a retail job, in a telemarketing company too, in human resource, in the corporate world, and I built myself to become someone that I envisioned one day to become. And I feel like when you start too young, you never get that opportunity, you know, because you can't go to regular school anymore. Now you got to get private, you know, like schooling, and you can't go to your prom, and you can't have these memories in life that I feel a lot of us want, you know, like I was able to go to prom. I was able to, you know, have memories in my life that I could keep. And I'm not saying that starting young is also a bad thing, you know, but I'm saying that there's pros and cons to everything.
Yeah.
And I'm actually grateful and thankful for the time that I started. And if you know, put on that battery pack on and you get things going, and like you said earlier, don't sleep so much, you know, you can definitely make it happen. You know, just have a game plan, trust your game plan. Don't become discouraged, because it's going to happen. Be okay with it. Be accepting of what life throws at you, and just keep moving forward.
Yeah, totally. There's a lot of people in the entertainment industry that have actually started their careers way later than expected. You know, for example, like Ken Jeong was a practicing doctor. So you got to imagine he had already gone to years of schooling and med school and all that stuff. And then he got his big break as an actor. And now he's like, you know, he's an actor in the highest grossing comedy of all time, The Hangover. He's like, you know, on The Masked Singer as a host. He's hosting his other singing show on Fox right now. I think, I don't want to be wrong on this, but I even think like Morgan Freeman got his acting debut like in his 40s or something like that. And now he's like someone that's, you know, an iconic voice and presence in Hollywood. And it's like, you never know when your break could come. So yeah, age should definitely not be a deterrent, especially in this game of life, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like during these times that we're living now, it's so much easier too. I'll dare to say that it's way easier because of social media. You have that to help you. Back then, you didn't have any of that. It's like you had to send like a paper resume and a photo down to an address and hope to God they open it. Or, you know, like you couldn't just show up and hustle, and, you know, like things are different, and, you know, like the hustling is different, and, you know, you have social media to kind of give you a boost and help you. You know, you have a video that goes viral. I mean, now you're somebody out of nowhere, you know, so it's just having a game plan, sticking with it. Don't become unmotivated by what doesn't work. Keep moving forward and look for what does work, because that's what it's all about. Like, you're going to fail a million times, and then it just takes that one time. That's it, just that one time to get that one good job and or good opportunity, and you're basically good from there, you know?
Totally agree with that. And so, like, with that being said, this is a question I always ask everyone that's on the show, which is, where do you personally see yourself 5 years from now? And then where do you see yourself 10 years from
now? 5 years from now, I would definitely say that, you know, when I started off my career, I started off as an actor, and I'm working on definitely getting more acting gigs. Okay. I definitely see myself as a stunt actor. If I do just get, you know, like acting opportunities, I'm down with that too. But that's what I started with, and that's always been like a passion and a love of mine. I see myself definitely working in a movie as an actor. And in 10 years from now, I mean, damn, that's a long time. I'm like, 10 years from now, I'll be like 41. I think just still kicking butt, man. Like, I feel like our age now is so different from years ago. I feel like you can still be in your 40s and look like you're 20 something and still, you know, be great. I mean, in film is so different because there's a lot of actors that are in their 40s and they do basically roles of college people, and you know, but definitely I would say somewhere in Atlanta, which is my next destination, and definitely, you know, working in a big film. That's like where eventually I want to go. And if I get to do stunt acting, then that'll be the dream because I would love to do both, definitely.
Hell yeah. No, that's super cool. And I definitely feel like with the mindset and a lot of things that we talked about today, you know, as long as you put your mind to it and put in the work, anything's possible. It's like the theme of today. So.
For sure, man.
Hell yeah. No, I appreciate it. And I appreciate all the advice and insight that hopefully everyone's going to be able to gain from this talk between us and stuff like that. And just more so for like people that are fans of you, or maybe people that are going to become a fan of you after listening to this talk right now. You just let people know like where they can continue to follow your own personal journey and stay up to date with what you're going on.
Yeah, definitely. You guys can follow me on Instagram at Yessenia Cossio Official. Facebook, just Yessenia Cossio, and Twitter, same thing, Yessenia Cossio. And yeah, just go ahead and hit me up there. If you guys have any questions, feel free. I'm an open book. Really friendly and nice, and I love to help people because I remember when I started, I needed help, and any, you know, advice that I could share, I would love to. But you guys could follow me on there.
Hell yeah. Yo, with that being said, guys, as always, please be sure to hit that like button, comment, subscribe for brand new episodes each and every week. Join us every Monday for Jam Breakdowns and every Friday for brand new JAMCast, interviewing influential members of the movement community like Yessenia Cossio herself. So with that being said, guys, I got to give one more very special thank you. Thanks for coming through and making the time.
Thank you for having me, for sure. Thank you.
Hell yes. I'm glad we can make it happen. And as always, guys, coming at you, coming through, I'm your host, Travis Wong. Thanks for joining us here on another JAMCast. Until next time, we'll see you all soon. Peace.